All right, so you see the title of my video, Observe a Woman's Behavior Around Attractive Women. My name is Giselle Wallace, lesbian life coach and author. Thank you for tuning in today to my video. This message is especially for all of the women who love women. I do hear from a lot of women that they want to meet other attractive women, and they want to know the best way to learn that a woman is mutually interested in them. And that's a very important question to ask. And I'm going to help you out a little bit today. I have been in quite a few different scenarios where I was able to observe women. But here's the thing. Women are very observant creatures. We pay attention to everything. It's part of our nature. We're also very intuitive. And I want to encourage you ladies to always honor your intuition. We think about intuition as being our voice of reason. And it's not about logic. It's more about a knowing. And this is very important. I like to call it God's voice, because He will speak to you and guide you and protect you. But I want you to know that your intuition, ladies, also helps you in meeting your partner. Now, we'll go on and get into some situations that I've been in. I probably will give you one or two situations that I've been in with women and explain to you how to recognize women who are interested in you, that you are attracted to, and you want to make that connection. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Like and share this video. When you like my videos, it helps other same-sex attracted people to get to know more about our experiences. And by you liking my video, you're contributing to getting the content out there. And I appreciate you. Observe a woman's behavior around attractive women. One of the best ways to know about a woman's interest in you is through observation. Women who love women mingle together. When you are a woman who is attracted to women physically, emotionally, romantically, sexually, mentally, and spiritually, you are a woman who loves women. And you can identify as lesbian. I identify as a lesbian. You may identify as bisexual or pansexual. You know who you are. This message is for you. Women who are attracted to women love being around women. We enjoy the company of women. Yes, we enjoy our alone time if you are that kind of person. I mean, I relish in my alone time. But I enjoy being around a beautiful woman. There's nothing like spending time with the woman who gets you and you're both really into each other. So we will gravitate towards women we're attracted to. That's what we're going to do. And that's why it's important that we get out in spaces where women are around. And just to give you a little tip, I know that we live in a heteronormative society and we look at most women as being heterosexual. However, not all women are heterosexual. And women are out and about because they want to meet you. So if you are someone who is kind of like introverted, you like to spend a lot of time alone, you have to make more of an effort to go out and to be around people. And I understand because I am introverted. However, I can be what they call an ambivert. I think that's the right verbiage. It's like a mixture of being introverted and extroverted. So I can be flexible in interacting with people. I enjoy getting to know a woman. I really enjoy making a connection, having that one-on-one interaction. Some people prefer being in a group setting around various women at the same time. We're all different. We all have our different unique personalities and energy, and that's what makes the process of getting to know a woman very interesting. I remember I was going to a book expo, and a book expo is where you go to this conference and there's a lot of speakers and authors present. And I was going to this book expo because I wanted to meet other authors. And I wasn't thinking about meeting a woman necessarily, but when you just go to places that interest you, you will meet other women who have the same interests like you. And interesting enough, this particular book expo, it was religious based, or it was faith based. So there were a lot of authors who were of different faiths and religions there. And I wasn't really too excited about going once I found out that it was religious based. And the reason why is because I am an author and I am a lesbian. And I know how a lot of people in the religious spaces do not condone homosexuality. So I really was thinking about changing my mind about going. But it was interesting enough, it was a male friend of mine. We were co-workers at the time, and he knew that I was an aspiring writer and author. And he told me about this book expo. And he said, I think you should go, Giselle. And I told him, because he knew that I was a lesbian. And I said, I don't really know if I want to go, because there's a lot of probably religious people who will have an issue with the type of writings that I partake in, because I am a lesbian identified woman and I do a lot of my writings for the lesbian, gay, bisexual, LGBTQ plus community. But he said something to me and it just was like a light bulb came on. He said, Giselle, he said, 75% of those women in those churches are into women. They like women. But you're the only woman that I know who is honest enough to admit that you are a lesbian. And he said, just go to the book expo and get the information you need and get out of there. And shout out to my friend my guy friend, I took his advice and I went to this book expo. And it was so interesting because I had a great time. I made a lot of connections and I learned some invaluable information that is with me today and will be with me forever. And there was a woman who we exchanged phone numbers. She actually was a financial author. So I learned a lot about finances through her. But there was a speaker, and it was a woman speaker. She was actually a preacher. She was a minister. And here's the crazy part about being there and listening to this woman preacher. She started talking about homosexuality. And I thought it was really like odd. Well, not odd, because I knew that I was in this religious, faith-based environment with speakers and authors. And this is the reason why I did not want to go to this particular function, because I was not interested in being around religious zealots who were against homosexuals. And sure enough, she starts preaching about homosexuality, and she starts talking about lesbians. And she was saying that she was not supporting the homosexual lifestyle. I almost got up and walked out, but something told me not to. I just stayed there, and I just got through the little sermon that she did. And that was the end of that. I didn't even think about that sermon anymore. I went on to make connections, business connections. Well, I was, you know how you're looking ahead, you're looking at something ahead, and someone behind you is trying to get your attention. So this woman was saying, excuse me. And I turned around, and guess who it was? It was the woman who was preaching. She's the preacher, the speaker of the, well, she was one of the host speakers, guest speakers, that was talking about homosexuality and that she's against homosexuality. And she asked me my name. And I told her my name, and she introduced herself. And I said, yes, I was in the audience. And she said, yeah, I know you were in the audience because you had a great question. Because at one point, before she started talking about being against homosexuality, I asked a question. I raised my hand and asked a question because she was doing a question and answer segment. And she answered my question for me. I don't remember what the question was, but she said, I just want to say that you had a great question, and I hope that I answered your question for you that met your need. And I said, oh, yes, you did. Absolutely. Thank you. And she just said that, I think you are so beautiful. And I was like, thank you. And out of nowhere, there was all these women that came rushing up to her, and they were wanting her autograph. Apparently, this woman was a well-known preacher who I didn't know. And there were all these women gathering around her, asking her for her autograph. And they wanted to sign her book because she also was an author. I'm not going to disclose who this woman is for privacy reasons. So at this point, she had to pay attention to the people coming up to her. She started to sign their autographs, sign their books, rather, autograph her books that they purchased. And suddenly she just stopped and she said, isn't she so beautiful? This woman right here is so beautiful. And she looks at me and has her hands out pointing in my direction, like a moment, like some kind of just, it was just very out of this world. And it was like everybody in slow motion turned around to look at me, and they were looking at me up and down. and they were like nodding their heads up and down, and then they turned their attention back to her. But she was looking at me the whole time. The woman who was the preacher, she was looking at me like she wanted me, like she wanted to get to know me better. And I'm not talking about on a friendship level. This woman had the look of, I want you. And honestly, I was not interested in getting to know her better at that point, because I'm not into women who preach and who say that homosexuality is a sin, but in secret, they're still trying to talk to women. In other words, she was on the down low. So that was a situation I was in. I met a down low woman who was a preacher, and women will go after you. They will introduce themselves to you. They will make themselves known to you. And I believe if those people didn't come up, I think I was saved by grace. Thank you, God. When all those crowd of women came up and they surrounded her to get her autograph to sign her book that they bought, because that was my out. And I left the scene. I did something else. But that was a scenario that I was giving you because even though I was not interested in her, and she was a very attractive woman, I was observing my environment and I was observing her, and I was not going to be compatible. I know myself. I'm not going to be compatible with the woman who's on the down low. And then also she's preaching and teaching against homosexuality, and all these women are praising her and all of this dogma. I don't have time for that. But I learned a lot from that experience. When you are in an environment where you are around different women, pay attention to what they say. Pay attention to their behavior and how they interact with you, how they look at you. You will pick up clues and you will learn about women who are into women. And unfortunately, some of these women will be on the down low. And it's your choice whether you want to deal with them or not. Now, I'll give you one more scenario that I was in. I was actually a bridesmaid in a very close friend of mine's wedding. She was getting married, and it wasn't a gay wedding. She was heterosexual. She actually wanted me to be her maid of honor. We were like best friends and stuff at the time. She wanted me to be her maid of honor, but her mother interjected and she said, and her mother did not know me. Her mother told her, no, you need to make your sister your maid of honor. So she ended up having to make her sister her maid of honor, and I ended up being a bridesmaid. But nonetheless, I didn't take offense to it. She was very upset about it, but she was at this point in her life where she was just trying to please her mom, and she ended up allowing her sister to be her maid of honor. And the crazy part was she did not get along with her sister. But anyway, I digress. I ended up being a maid, not the maid of honor, but a bridesmaid in her wedding. And wedding went well. I remember sitting in the wedding took place in a church. I remember sitting in a pew at one point, and you know how people are just talking. It was after everything. It was like it was kind of like after the reception, and everybody was just kind of mingling. But there was this one lady who kept looking at me, and I didn't think anything of it. And eventually I went in an area where they were still serving food during the reception. And I think I had a piece of cake or something at the time. But what happened is the lady who was in the auditorium area where we were sitting down on the pews that I noticed was looking at me, she actually approached me in the hallway. And I remember I had just finished eating my cake. And I don't know, I was just in the hallway, but she saw me and she approached me and she kind of like grabbed my hand, but she was like grabbing my hand, but it was in a very sultry manner. It was not a regular just handshake. It was like a very sensual, sultry handshake. And this woman was extremely attractive. Like, she was the kind of woman that I would actually date. But I noticed a big rock on her finger. It was a beautiful diamond ring on her wedding ring finger. And so I looked up at her and she was smiling at me and she was gazing in my eyes and she said, "What's your name?" And I introduced myself. I told her my name. I asked her her name. And we actually had a mutual friend that was, we all actually were in the same church community at the time, but we didn't attend the same location of churches. She was actually in another city and I was in another city. But we had a mutual friend that we learned about as we were mingling. And she basically started saying how she thought I was very attractive and she was using her other hand to touch my hair. And I was kind of like almost on in a state of I wouldn't say shock, but it was more so like, I was feeling as if she was coming on to me. I picked up that energy and that's exactly what was happening. But I saw that big old wedding ring on her finger. And I asked her, now this woman, let me go back a little bit. She told me when we were talking, she told me she was a wedding coordinator. This woman was a professional wedding coordinator. She didn't coordinate my friend's wedding, but she just was in attendance. She had her own wedding coordinator business. So this woman had her own business. She was a wedding coordinator, extremely beautiful Black woman. She was very beautiful. Like I say, she was the kind of woman that I would date. But once I knew she was interested in me because she wanted my phone, she asked me for my phone number. And do you know, we didn't have our cell phones on us because the way it is with the wedding, this particular wedding, before you entered inside of the area where the wedding was conducted, you had to leave your cell phone. They didn't want any distractions. They didn't want any cell phones on. So we didn't have our cell phones with us. And I couldn't give her my phone number. She couldn't give me hers. And she said, "All right, well, we'll just have to find a pen and paper." And this is what I did. I asked her, I said, "You have a beautiful ring. Are you married?" Her facial expression went from smiling to almost like embarrassment. And she moved her hand literally behind her back. And she said, she flipped her other hand as if to be like, disregard that, like, and she rolled her eyes like, "Don't even worry about that." And she said, let me go find a pen because I want you to have my number. We need to stay in touch. And I kid you not, as soon as she started out to do so, there was a young lady. She came out running like a young child, and she ran out and she said, come on, we're fixing to go and catch the bouquet. And she grabbed my arm and she literally pulled me. Come on, we're going to go catch the bouquet. We're going to go catch the bouquet. And I looked back, at the woman who was wanting my phone number, and she looked so upset because she was annoyed that the young girl grabbed me and took me off like that. And so at this point, I'm like waiting to catch the bouquet, and I you know how that part comes, and I didn't catch the bouquet, but I ran into the lady again, and she said, I want you to have my phone number. And I was just kind of speechless because I felt real uncomfortable because I didn't want to speak to her on a romantic level because she was married to a man. And we could not find a pen or paper to save our life. And again, I'm going to say that was God's grace. Mind you, this is all happening in the church house. Never got the pen and paper, never got our phone numbers. And she was just so annoyed. I could just tell she was annoyed. And somehow, some way, we didn't see each other again. But I learned a lot out of that scenario because these are ways that taught me about women and how to observe women. And women, like I say, they observe you. These women observed me and were watching me before I even knew that they were watching me. And they approached me. And these women were very attractive, beautiful women. But I had to make the choice on whether I wanted to be with these women or not, based on whatever I consider as being the standards and my rules on determining if I want to be with a woman or not. And yes, these scenarios didn't turn out to where we ended up being a match made in heaven. But the point is, ladies, you can learn from your interactions with women and you can learn lessons from them. Because women are around everywhere. And the women who you usually do not think are into women are actually into women. You will be able to observe a woman's behavior around attractive women. And you will actually end up meeting women who you actually have a lot in common with. There's a mutual attraction and things work out well for you. I have had those experiences as well, but due to time constraints, I won't be able to go into those different scenarios in this video. But women who love women mingle together. When a woman wants you, you will know. She will make the effort. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel. My name is Giselle Wallace. If you are interested in having a life coach session, my contact information is here on YouTube in the description box below this video. Have a wonderful day.